God's message for the chosen ones: everything is about to change. My beloved child, listen closely, because what you're feeling right now is not confusion, not exhaustion, not coincidence. It is the quiet pressure that comes before a shift. There are moments in life when everything feels strangely heavy, when familiar paths lose their comfort and silence grows louder than noise. This is one of those moments. You may feel unseen, underestimated, or paused while others rush ahead. But understand this: pauses are not delays, they are calibrations. Something is aligning beneath the surface, something you cannot yet name, but your instincts feel it. That restlessness in your chest, the sense that you don't fit where you once did, the pull towards something undefined, this is not random. It's preparation. Many walk through life asleep to these signals. You notice them. That alone sets you apart. Don't skip this moment, because what's unfolding is subtle at first, almost invisible, but once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Everything is about to change, not loudly, not dramatically, but decisively. There is a reason your old ways no longer satisfy you. A reason why conversations feel shallow, routines feel tight, and distractions don't work like they used to. Growth doesn't announce itself, it isolates you first. It removes noise. It pulls you inward before it pushes you forward. You weren't meant to blend in forever. You were meant to notice patterns others ignore, to question systems others accept, to feel discomfort where others feel numb. And that's why things had to fall quiet around you. The silence is not empty, it's loaded. It's where clarity forms. Right now, you're standing at the edge of a realization that most people reach too late, if ever. The world doesn't change you. You change the way you move through the world. That's the secret few are told. And once it clicks, everything rearranges: your priorities, your energy, your patience. Stay till the end, because this is not about becoming someone new. It's about finally stepping into who you've been all along. Here's what no one tells you: the chosen path never looks impressive at the beginning. It looks lonely. It looks slow. It looks uncertain. And that's intentional. If it looked easy, everyone would chase it. If it looked obvious, it wouldn't refine you. You are being shaped by pressure, sharpened by waiting, and tested by doubt, not to break you, but to reveal what doesn't belong. The things slipping away right now were never meant to stay. The doors closing were never meant to remain open. Something huge is waiting for you on the other side of this phase, but it requires you to trust what you cannot yet prove. This is the turning point where patience becomes power, awareness becomes advantage, and stillness becomes momentum. Hold steady. The message is simple, but rare. When everything feels uncertain, that's often the sign that you're finally moving in the right direction. Right now, something inside you is waking up, and it's uncomfortable because awakenings never feel gentle. They feel like friction. Like resistance. Like you're being pulled away from what's familiar without being shown the full picture of what's coming next. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. If you could clearly see what's ahead, you'd rush. If you could measure it, you'd try to control it. But this phase isn't about speed or control, it's about alignment. You're being trained to move without applause, to stand without reassurance, to trust yourself without external validation. That's why people misunderstand you lately. That's why your silence feels louder than your words ever did. You're no longer reacting, you're observing. And observation is power. Most people live on the surface of their emotions. You've gone deeper. You're starting to see how patterns repeat, how intentions reveal themselves over time, how energy never lies even when words do. This awareness didn't come randomly. It came because you were meant to handle what's coming next without losing yourself in it. Here's the shift most people never notice: before life gives you expansion, it gives you clarity. Before it elevates you, it strips you. That's why distractions are falling away. That's why you don't feel drawn to things that once consumed you. You're not losing interest, you're gaining direction. And direction changes everything. Suddenly, you're less emotional and more intentional. Less reactive and more precise. You're starting to realize that not everything deserves your response, your energy, or your time. This is where real strength forms. Quiet strength. The kind that doesn't announce itself, but reshapes outcomes. And listen carefully, this is important: what you're becoming requires patience that most people don't have. That's why the journey feels solitary. That's why shortcuts don't tempt you anymore. You're being positioned, not rushed. Stay till the end, because once this understanding locks in, you'll realize why certain delays saved you, why certain losses protected you, and why certain doors had to stay closed no matter how hard you knocked. Now pause for a moment and notice this: you're still here. After everything. After doubts, setbacks, and long stretches where nothing seemed to move. That resilience wasn't accidental. It was built into you for this exact stretch of the journey. And this is where your role becomes active. Not loud. Not forceful. But deliberate. If this message is resonating, if it feels like it's describing a phase you couldn't explain before, then hold on to it. Share it with someone who feels lost in the middle of their becoming. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to reminders like this, because what's unfolding isn't a single moment, it's a process. Comment only if you truly feel aligned, not because you're told to, but because recognition creates momentum. What's ahead will demand calm decisions, sharp awareness, and emotional discipline. And the fact that you're still listening tells me something important: you're ready for the next layer. Not everyone makes it this far. There comes a moment when you stop asking why things happen to you and start asking what they shaped inside you. That moment is arriving now. Quietly. Without announcement. You may notice it in the way your reactions are slowing down, in the way chaos around you no longer pulls you in the same direction. You're beginning to understand something rare: not everything that challenges you is meant to stop you. Some challenges are signals, markers placed along the path to show you how far you've already come. The pressure you felt earlier wasn't meant to crush you, it was meant to compress you into something more focused, more precise. And that's why this phase feels different from every struggle before it. You're no longer fighting blindly. You're seeing clearly. You're recognizing patterns before they repeat. You're sensing outcomes before they arrive. That awareness didn't come from comfort. It came from endurance. And endurance, when paired with clarity, becomes authority. Here's the truth most people never hear: transformation is not loud, and it's not dramatic. It's subtle. It's internal. It shows up as restraint when you could react, patience when you could rush, and silence when you could explain yourself. You're learning to move without needing approval, to act without needing witnesses. That's why fewer people understand you now. Your frequency has shifted. You're no longer pulled by urgency, you're guided by intention. And intention changes how the world responds to you. Opportunities begin to show up differently. Conversations take new turns. Even obstacles feel less threatening because you see their purpose. Don't skip this realization, because once it settles in, you'll never return to your old way of moving. You'll stop chasing validation and start building position. You'll stop proving and start progressing. This is the stage where inner alignment quietly rewrites your external reality. What's coming next isn't something you force, it's something you step into prepared. The waiting you endured was sharpening your judgment. The isolation was refining your focus. The uncertainty was teaching you how to trust your inner compass when no signs were visible. And now, piece by piece, it's coming together. Not all at once. Not in a rush. But in a way that lasts. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a reward, but as a responsibility. It will require discipline, emotional control, and clarity under pressure. And that's why you had to grow before you arrived there. Stay till the end of this journey, because the version of you that's emerging doesn't need noise to be powerful. It doesn't need speed to be effective. It moves calmly, decisively, and with awareness most people never develop. And once you fully step into that state, life doesn't just respond differently, it starts making room for you. There is a quiet line you've crossed without realizing it. On one side of that line, you were waiting for signs, reassurance, permission. On the other side, you are becoming the sign. That's why things feel heavier now, not because you're weaker, but because you're carrying more awareness than before. You can sense when something is off. You can feel when timing matters. You can tell when silence is more powerful than action. This is not overthinking. This is discernment forming. And discernment is rare. Most people react to what's in front of them. You're learning to respond to what's underneath. That's why life has slowed you down recently. Not to frustrate you, but to teach you precision. Every step you take from here onward will matter more than the last. Every decision will echo longer. Don't skip this moment, because this is where scattered effort turns into focused momentum, where uncertainty turns into quiet confidence. The shift isn't loud, but it's permanent. What you're stepping into next will demand something different from you. Not more effort, but more restraint. Not more noise, but more clarity. You'll notice that when you stop forcing outcomes, outcomes begin to move toward you. Conversations align. Opportunities appear without you chasing them. And the things that once drained you no longer have access. This is what inner authority feels like. Calm. Grounded. Unshakable. And here's the surprising truth: this state wasn't earned by doing more, but by letting go of what no longer matched you. That's why the journey felt uncomfortable. Growth always removes before it replaces. If this message feels like it's describing something you couldn't explain before, stay till the end, because what's coming next will require you to trust this new version of yourself. You won't be guided by urgency anymore. You'll be guided by alignment. And alignment always leads you exactly where you need to be. Before this continues any further, take a moment. If this message is helping you see your situation differently, share it with someone who's quietly going through their own transition. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to reminders like this, because the path ahead is subtle, and clarity matters. Leave a comment only if it genuinely resonates with where you are right now, not out of habit, but out of recognition. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a surprise, but as the natural result of who you've become. The reason you had to listen this long is simple: this message wasn't meant for everyone. It was meant for those who are ready to move differently, think differently, and live with intention. And now that you've reached this point, understand this clearly: nothing ahead will require you to rush. Everything will require you to be ready. Now comes the phase where everything becomes quiet on the outside, but sharp on the inside. This is where most people get distracted, but you won't. Because you can feel the weight of what's forming. You're no longer looking for constant movement, you're looking for meaning. And that shift alone changes how life responds to you. The noise around you may still exist, but it no longer enters you the same way. You're beginning to understand timing. You're realizing that acting too early can be just as costly as acting too late. This is not hesitation. This is mastery over impulse. Very few people reach this stage, because it requires the discipline to pause when ego wants to rush. And right now, that discipline is becoming natural to you. Don't skip this realization, because once you learn how to wait without anxiety, you gain an advantage most people never develop. What's happening beneath the surface is more important than anything visible right now. Your priorities are rearranging themselves. You're becoming selective. Not just with people, but with thoughts, reactions, and commitments. You're starting to see that attention is currency, and where you place it determines what grows. This is why certain situations no longer deserve explanations from you. Why certain energies no longer get access. You're not withdrawing, you're refining. And refinement always looks like distance before it looks like elevation. The calm you're developing is not passive, it's strategic. It allows you to see opportunities without desperation and challenges without fear. This is the kind of inner stability that attracts the right outcomes naturally. Stay till the end of this understanding, because once you fully step into this state, you'll realize how many battles you avoided simply by not engaging, and how many paths opened simply because you stayed aligned. Here's the final truth for this phase: you don't need to announce who you're becoming. Your consistency will reveal it. You don't need to prove anything. Your presence will speak. The reason this journey feels different now is because it's no longer about survival, it's about direction. And direction, once clear, simplifies everything. Something huge is waiting for you, not at the finish line, but along the path you're already walking. The clarity you're gaining now will guide every major decision ahead. And when the moment arrives that requires action, you won't feel rushed or uncertain, you'll feel ready. That's how you'll know this phase worked. That's how you'll know the change wasn't temporary. It was foundational. Notice how your mind feels quieter now, even when life isn't. That's not exhaustion, it's clarity settling in. You're beginning to sense the difference between urgency and importance, between noise and signal. Where others feel pressure to act, you feel awareness to wait. This is not hesitation, it's readiness forming in real time. You're learning that power doesn't rush, it positions itself. And position changes outcomes without effort. The reason this feels unfamiliar is because you've stepped out of reaction and into intention. Every experience you passed through trained this instinct, every delay sharpened it, every uncertainty strengthened it. Don't skip this moment, because this is where confidence stops being loud and starts being precise. You're not here to move fast, you're here to move right. And once that understanding lands, the path ahead simplifies in ways you couldn't have imagined before. Here's the shift that defines this stage: you're no longer measuring progress by speed, but by alignment. You're noticing how small choices compound, how attention shapes results, how calm decisions outlast emotional ones. This is why certain options no longer tempt you. It's not that they're wrong, it's that they're incomplete. You're learning to say no without explanation, to pause without guilt, to choose depth over display. And that restraint is creating space for the right conversations, the right timing, the right openings. This is the part most people miss because it requires patience without proof. But you can feel it working. Opportunities aren't chasing you yet, but they're lining up. Patterns are resolving. Loose ends are tightening. Stay till the end of this understanding, because once you fully trust this pace, you'll stop doubting quiet progress and start recognizing momentum where others see nothing. What's ahead will not ask you to become someone else, it will ask you to be consistent with who you already are. The clarity you're developing now will guide you through pressure without panic and success without distraction. You'll know when to act because it will feel obvious, not urgent. You'll know when to wait because stillness will feel productive, not empty. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a sudden event, but as a natural next step that fits you perfectly. And when it arrives, you won't feel surprised. You'll feel prepared. That's how you'll know this journey mattered. That's how you'll know the change was real. There is a calm certainty forming inside you now, and it doesn't need words to explain itself. It shows up in how you move through situations that once drained you, how you no longer feel the need to rush answers or chase reactions. You're beginning to trust your inner timing more than external pressure. This is the moment where confusion fades and intuition sharpens. You're not guessing anymore, you're sensing. And sensing is faster than logic, deeper than emotion. That's why this phase feels so still yet so intense. Everything unnecessary is falling silent so that what truly matters can speak clearly. Don't skip this part of the journey, because this is where your decisions start carrying weight without force. You're learning that control isn't about holding tighter, it's about knowing when to release. What's remarkable about this stage is how natural it feels once you stop resisting it. You're no longer fighting to be understood. You're no longer trying to fit your depth into shallow spaces. Instead, you're conserving energy, choosing precision over volume, presence over performance. This is where your focus becomes your advantage. While others scatter their attention, you're learning to direct it. While others react emotionally, you're responding intentionally. And that difference will compound over time in ways that are impossible to fake. Stay till the end of this realization, because once you truly understand this, you'll stop doubting your quiet progress. You'll recognize that growth doesn't always announce itself, but it always leaves results behind. The reason this message is unfolding slowly is because what's next isn't fragile, it's significant. Something huge is waiting for you, not because you chased it, but because you became capable of carrying it. The patience you practiced, the discipline you built, the clarity you earned, they were all prerequisites. And now, as this phase settles, you'll notice life responding differently. Not dramatically. Not instantly. But consistently. You'll feel grounded even when things move fast. You'll stay composed even when pressure rises. And when the moment comes that truly matters, you won't hesitate. You'll act with certainty, because by then, you won't be seeking signs anymore. You'll recognize that you've become one. Now you'll notice something subtle but powerful: your energy no longer leaks. Situations that once pulled reactions from you now pass through without friction. You're not detached, you're deliberate. That difference changes everything. When you stop feeding what drains you, your focus sharpens naturally. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly, without interference. This is where alignment becomes visible in your daily choices. You choose fewer things, but you choose them fully. You speak less, but your words land deeper. You act less often, but when you do, the impact lasts. Don't skip this realization, because this is the moment when inner order starts shaping outer results. What feels calm now is actually power organizing itself, preparing to move with precision. You're also starting to recognize a quiet truth: not every door opens with noise. Some open because you're finally ready to walk through without needing validation. This is why your standards feel higher and your tolerance feels lower. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. You know what costs too much energy. You know what leads nowhere. You know when something aligns and when it distracts. That discernment protects your momentum. And momentum, once protected, compounds. Stay till the end of this understanding, because this is where many people slip back into old habits. They mistake calm for stagnation. You won't. You can feel progress even when it's invisible. You trust the process because you trust yourself more than before. What's approaching doesn't need you to hurry. It needs you to remain steady. Something huge is waiting for you. Not behind urgency, not behind pressure, but behind consistency. The way you're showing up now, day after day, with restraint and awareness, is setting conditions for outcomes that last. When the opportunity arrives, it won't feel chaotic. It will feel obvious. And when you step into it, you won't question whether you're ready. You'll recognize that everything leading up to this moment was necessary. This is how real change unfolds, quietly, decisively, and without needing permission.